Welcome back to Kimchi Rednecks. Today we're doing something. What are we doing?
Cooking our way through Danny Trejo's cookbook.
Danny Trejo.
Machete cooks.
Machete makes tacos.
Anybody that knows me knows I am a fan, one, of Mexican food, and two, I love Danny Trejo. I just do. He is one of my favorite actors. I know a lot about his history, and I respect who he is as an actor and as a person. He also has a donut chain as well as a taco place in Los Angeles, which we've not been to, and honestly, that's probably the only reason I'd ever go to LA.
Yeah,
That's the only reason, just for him. But, so when he came out with his cookbook, I told Chuck we had to have the cookbook. So, we have the cookbook. So today, we are starting with our very first recipe, and we are going to do
barbacoa something another.
barbacoa brisket.
Barbacoa brisket.
Yes.
Yes.
So, magically, we will transport you back in time 48 hours ago when we brined the brisket.
Yes, and it looked like this.
So let's get our dry brine put together. So for the dry brine, you need half a cup of sugar. Then you need a half a cup of salt. He says kosher salt. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground black pepper. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. This is a half teaspoon, so I'm going to use 4 of those. And then we also need 4 garlic cloves finely chopped. We of course have our minced garlic. And we're just going to mix that up really quick. That's going to go with our 5 pounds of brisket, which we're going to rub on there. So we got kind of like a sand mixture here. So now we need plastic wrap. So let's grab plastic wrap really quick so we can do this because we're going to wrap it.
All right, so we put some cling wrap down on the table there, so we're not just throwing meat on the table. That would be terrible.
All right, so this is about 5 pounds of brisket, but we also have a little bit of London broil that we're throwing in with this.
You know, because waste not, want not.
Yeah. So it's mostly brisket and some London broil. So literally we are just going to make sure it gets on as much of this as possible. On it on both sides. And then this is going to sit in this dry brine for 48 hours before it gets braised and cooked. Just giving it lots of time to develop all of that flavor into this meat.
Looks like it. Get a little on the ends of that one now.
This one has a lot more ends showing. Okay. So, the next thing is to wrap it in plastic wrap. So we have the first sheet down, but I knew we were going to need more. So I'm going to need Chuck's assistance with this because my hands are nasty.
Oh no, I don't have my kitchen gloves. What am I going to do?
Yeah, I know you need me.
Yeah, I hate cling wrap.
I know.
Problem with cling wrap is it usually sticks to everything except what I want it to stick to.
Yeah, when you don't want it to stick to itself, it does.
And when you want it to, it don't.
Alright, I got more.
Alright, now this time we'll go down the center. Alright, and then just for intents and purposes and intensive purposes, I would put that in another Ziploc bag just to make sure it doesn't leak all over stuff.
But 48 hours later, we will be back. And we will be beginning our journey with this fabulous meat. Man, that was a quick trip in 48 hours.
Yes. Went back and forth so fast my drawers rode up.
Woo! So we have our brisket here, and it has been dry brined. And now we are going to pat it down with paper towels and get it out.
Why I don't like saran wrap or cling wrap or whatever it's called.
Because it clings?
Because it clings where you don't want it and it don't cling where you do want it.
It did a good job. It's fine. Okay. All right, so.
Like, throw that right back in the bag.
All right, so at this point, we are wiping off any excess brining mixture, and then we are going to heat our skillet. Get that London broil in the middle there.
That little piece isn't really brisket, but it identifies as a brisket.
Today it identifies as brisket because it was extra and we needed to cook it in something.
When browning, or what do they call it?
We're browning it and then braising it.
And braising. When you go to put it in the pan, you want it as dry as possible, because if it's wet, it's just going to make steam and it's going to like flash boil the outside of your meat, and that's not browning.
Right.
That's graying, and graying is terrible.
Graying is terrible. Just like when your hair starts to gray. That's terrible. Mm. Oh, sorry. He claims those are for me, but I say sookie dog. So, he's about to hit me with that. All right, so we are going to do medium-high heat, and you need 2 tablespoons of oil over medium-high heat for 3 minutes.
I'm about to say it takes about 2 minutes or so for a heavy bottom pan like this to heat up, so I'll be right back. Okay, so we're about 2 minutes in. I can feel the heat coming off the pan, so I'm going to turn this down just a touch. We don't need to set ourselves on fire.
Please don't.
As fun as that is sometimes.
No, it's never fun.
There we go, get the oil all over the pan. And if you're not doing like the spray test thing, when your oil starts to shimmer in the pan is usually when it's at scalding temperature. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's go with the big one.
I got you tongs. The recommendation here is to cook it until it's brown on both sides. So on the first side and on the second side, you're gonna check it at about 4 to 5 minutes because you don't want it to get black and you don't want to burn the sugar.
Also, when you're laying stuff into oil, lay away from yourself so that you don't splash it on you and turn into a Freddy Krueger impersonator. That'd be terrible.
So one thing to remember is this brine that we did have sugar in it. That's why you're going to check it in about 4 minutes, because you don't want to burn the sugar onto this, or otherwise it's going to give a really funky flavor.
All right, so I want to say that 6 minutes was total, because that ain't been in there a minute and it's starting to burn.
Well, at least you got it before it actually burned. It's a little bit charred, but it's not bad.
So you want to get all 6 sides, or at least the 4 main sides. Might be hard to get the little end parts on here the way we got this cut, but...
Also to note, we don't have a very huge oven here in Korea, so since we're using a smaller oven, we're actually putting it in our Dutch oven to cook it, which will include all of the liquid and the braising stuff, so that is our game plan.
All right, these going in there?
Yep.
So we'll brown the rest of these and be back so we don't set off our fire alarm.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
All right, now that we have finished browning that, we're going to add in a medium sliced onion. You want it sliced very thinly. I used our Choppy McChopper, as Chuck calls it.
No, that one's Slappy McFingerloss.
Okay, well, I still have on my fingers. That was a medium yellow onion. And we're also going to add in 1 clove of garlic. Ours is obviously minced because that's what we use in this household. We're going to put in 2 teaspoons of ground cumin and 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. And then 1 tablespoon of chili powder. And then for about 30 seconds or so, he says, you put that in the drippings and you want to get that fragrant. That's fragrant, I can smell that. And then we're going to add
My eyes are starting to water.
a quarter cup of vinegar And the vinegar is actually going to boil until it's almost evaporated, and you're going to scrape that skillet with a wooden spoon.
Something with a longer handle might be good, yeah.
All right, that's almost evaporated. Then we are going to take our tomatoes. Hold that, Chuck. This is a 14.5 can of whole tomatoes with juice, and you're going to hand crush your tomatoes in.
If you're going authentic, I'm
going authentic today.
pretty sure nobody
Hey, I'm going the Danny Trejo way.
would break in your house and beat you down because you used pre-crushed tomatoes. But
I might. All right, then we got our tomatoes in, and then you put the juice from the can in. All right.
it's definitely fragrant.
All right, then we've got 2 chipotle peppers. Important to read this correctly because this is 2 chipotle peppers from a can of chipotle chilies and adobo sauce, and they got to be chopped. We don't have them chopped yet.
Okay, well, hand me that.
And peppers.
And peppers.
1, 2. Although that looks like half of one. Let's go those 2.
Okay. I'm going to say you stir, I'll cut.
All right, well, I've got to get that off my fingers. And then we need 2 bay leaves as well, which I have right here, so I'll go ahead and do my 2 bay leaves. It does have a good smell.
This is not proper knife safety. Don't do this at home. I'm just an idiot.
And then we are going to take these 2 cups of water here and stir in. The main thing you want to do with this mixture too is make sure you're not burning it on the bottom. It doesn't have to be hot when it goes in because it's going to heat in the oven. Our oven is already preheated to 325, and this is going to cook for about 5 hours. During that time, since we have ours in our Dutch oven, we'll probably go in and move the stuff around, but we want this to be fork tender. We want it to just kind of fall apart because we're going tacos, Chuck.
All hail tacos!
It's a very fragrant scent, don't you think?
It is. It's very, I don't want to say Mexican-y because that would just be general, but it's got a very Mexican restaurant scent to it.
It has a Mexican scent to it, which is good since we're making Mexican. Yay?
It's that scent you think of when you go to a taco place, which is probably what we're aiming for.
I just threw a little bit of the sauce in there because I've still got to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of those chipotles. All right, bringing back our brisket over, turning this off, and then Chuck is going to come over here because this thing is heavy and pour this on our meat. Right, Chuck?
Hold on a second. I'm trying to wash stuff as I'm going here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is unusual for me.
That's very unusual. I should not have interrupted that. So it just gets poured directly onto the meat. But since it's heavy, I thought maybe you better do a better job of it than me.
I'm gonna say, watch out. Let me flip the pan over and you can scrape it from the other side.
I almost had it all to that side already.
So you don't burn yourself. Let's set this over here.
We got to still have to put the molasses in.
Molasses!
That would be an important thing not to miss, guys. We need a 1/4 cup of molasses. Lucky for me, I can just stir this while we're in. So I'm going to pour it around the edges, and then I'm just going to stir it in. Ooh, eating molasses.
Goes good on biscuits.
Gonna make some great rum.
Rum. We have not started that project yet.
So ideally you would have put that molasses in while it was still in the pot. Is it gonna make a difference? No, because I got it in and I have mixed it in. So we are not really gonna have to worry about that. So even seasoned cooks reading a cookbook sometimes skip stuff.
Miss some steps. Get stuff out of order.
It happens. But in this case, this isn't something that's detrimental if you get it out of order, which is good. Because if you got to miss a step, you at least want it to be one that's not going to screw everything up.
This is true.
All right, so. And we're going to put tin foil on top of this and seal it in tightly. And then it's going in the oven.
We apparently have the ridiculously wide edition here.
Sometimes you want the ridiculously wide edition. There. And into the oven.
All right, so we're gonna do that. We'll see y'all in 5 hours or so.
All right, so our lovely brisket has been cooked, and it was in there for 5 hours yesterday. We put it in the fridge, and then we are going to remove this now. We've actually heated this back up a little bit this morning just to get it warm. And we'll move out our pieces of brisket. Now, important thing to note here is,
Don't eat the
remember,
bay leaf.
you put 2 bay leaves in here. So after we reduce this liquid in here by half, we want to remove those 2 bay leaves. Very important thing to note. All right, so now we are going to turn this on to a medium-high heat, and we're going to get it up to a boil. And basically, in about 10 minutes, we'll be ready. The sauce will be reduced, and I will remove the 2 bay leaves.
All right, so while we're reducing stock over here, my job is to start shredding meat. So they do make claws where you can like shred for pulled pork, but generally you need to do that on like a big area, like a table. We're trying to keep this kind of contained. So I'm gonna go with a big meat fork and a smaller fork to hold. I'm gonna do this backwards from what most people would think, because I'm gonna use a small fork to hold it in place and the big fork to pull. Honestly, it's not that technically difficult. Just grab and pull. When you notice which direction it starts coming apart from, adjust and pull from that direction so you start getting little meat strings. Meat strings is good. Yep, and that's what you're looking for. We're gonna shred it up. Anyway, while she gets all that down, reduced down, and I will finish shredding this up, and we'll be back. All right, so meat has been shredded into some fine beefy strings.
Now, if you chose, you could actually carve that. We chose the shred.
Mainly because she was giving me crap against my thickly cut beef in the, what was it, the Cookbook did last week.
All right, I'm just going to start mixing it in as he puts it in to try and coat as much of the meat as possible. I think we won't have a problem with that. Honestly, it cooked really very tender.
Honestly, the beef's not bad by itself.
No, the beef has a very fabulous flavor by itself. If you decided to carve it, what you would do is you would still reduce your sauce, but then you just put the sauce on the side. But since we're not carving, we shredded our
We're
sauce.
going for the ultimate flavor induction. Incubation? Induction? One of them words.
Whatever you want to call it, Chuck.
Words are hard.
All right.
Let me run over here and cameraman real quick so everybody can get up in that and take a look.
Well, I can also do this now that you're not using it. Which enables me to get more of the sauce in the meat. So basically all I'm trying to do right here is just make sure every bit of this meat has some sauce on it. So I've mixed it in really well into the sauce. Would you like to try it, Chuck?
A little bit of juicy goodness.
Take the whole thing. That's got some flavor.
That's a nice extra kick right on top of that beef.
Wow. With that, so in future videos you will see we've made a chipotle crema, which is going to be fabulous with this. We've made a pico de gallo, and we're also making homemade refried beans, because the price of refried beans in Korea is like $6 or 6,000 won a can.
Yeah, that's
a lot.
For a can.
That's a lot. So if you can make your own, you just make your own. That's what we're going to do today.
Because black beans are cheaper.
Well, we could have done it with pinto beans too.
Or pinto beans.
Yeah. But we chose black beans because that's what it says so in the recipe. So, and if Danny Trejo tells me to do it, if you're cooking with Danny, you do what Danny says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And machete say black beans.
So, we're going to put a lid on this because our guests are not here and it's a little bit early, and then we're going to probably start our next project, which is our refried beans. So, like, subscribe. We're not eating for you in this one. But if you're looking for flavorful Barbacoa Brisket recipe.
Even if it takes a while.
Do not skip on this one. This one is totally worth the time that you put into dry brining and then browning and braising and then cooking it for 5 hours. It's totally worth it. That flavor you would, wow.
It's significant.
It's spectacular and I'm excited. So, like, subscribe.
Do the internet stuff. See the buy us a coffee link below. And we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.